You guys want to read the Bible? I want to read the Bible today. I'm excited to read the Word of God with you all. Man, I'm thankful. God's doing cool things in this church. Continually, people come to this church who are like kind of newer to the faith and to Christianity and to church, and it's just really exciting. It just continues to happen, and so I just encourage you, if you are here and you're newer to Christianity, walking with Jesus, I just want to give you a big thumbs up and tell you dive all in. I just really encourage you, don't go the slow path, go the fast track. Like, dive in the deep end. I've been encouraging some of you to like give a whole year of your life to get to know Jesus. If you're new to Jesus, I want to encourage you, just plow through the Bible. Give a whole year of your life to get to know Him. Get involved in church and prayer every day, things like that. All right, hey, let's read. We're in Genesis 24. I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have ever had an experience in life where the lesson you learned or the sense you got at the end of the experience is that this world is so much bigger than just you? Has anyone ever had an experience like that? Man, some of you like traveling and you get off an airplane and you walk down the stairs and you see a country is different than yours and people that are doing things different. You're like, oh my goodness, my world is so much smaller than I thought. Anyone had an experience like that? You traveled. Some of you guys, you like astronomy, you look up at the stars and you do that, and it just gives you the sense of, oh my gosh, I am kind of smaller than I thought. The universe is so much bigger than I thought. Anyone had that experience before? Some of you nerds looking through the telescope. No, I'm just kidding. I like looking at stars too. I'm going to get a telescope someday, but some of you are a little nerdy. No offense. But I don't know, just sometimes there's these experiences in life that just help us like zoom out and just see that, oh my gosh, my life is not as like big and crazy and important as I thought. Well, maybe it is, but not in the sense that I make it sometimes and stress about. So you're like, well, okay, Josh, what's your experience that helped you zoom out? Well, this is what I want to tell you is one time I had this experience in this lesson when I slept through a meeting. Yeah. Now, before you judge me, because I know some of you have fallen asleep during meetings before, I was not actually in the meeting. I was at home in my bed and slept through the meeting that I was like pushing to have and was supposed to be part of. Yeah, I know you're judging right now, but let me give you some context before you judge too harshly. First of all, I was not the pastor, I was a youth pastor, and come on, pretty sure youth pastors get a free passes like that, right? The bar is much lower for youth pastors. I'm pretty sure in the job description it says you get like 6 naps a year in the middle of meetings. But I don't know, I did my best. I wanted this meeting as part of an event we were trying to do with lots of youth from all over the county or something like that. And I was all excited, I was a part of it. And then, I don't know what happened, but I fell asleep. And I wasn't even in the meeting, I was at home in my bed, middle of the day, and like, some of you are like, I know you take naps every day, so you're like professional power nappers, 15 minutes every day, and then you get up. I don't understand you all. I'm not a raccoon. I'm not nocturnal. I sleep at night. I don't sleep in the daytime. So it's just really weird. I fell asleep, missed this meeting, and I still to this day can't make sense of it. It was like 15 years ago. It gets worse. I showed up to the meeting, and it was like pretty much almost over, but I just was such a person of duty. I was like, I gotta go to this meeting, even though I slept through it. So I show up, and no joke, I'm wiping the stuff out of my eyes, the meeting ends, and then they start another meeting, and like all the big important people come into the meeting, like the bigger leaders that are more important, and talk about the bigger picture and stuff. And I'm just so confused, I pretty much just walk out of the room embarrassed. Can everyone just feel pity for me right now and just like give me some sympathy? I need some noises, don't laugh, I need some sadness right now, genuine sadness. I'm embarrassed, it happens. So anyways, I kind of walked out of that room, and as defeating as that was, super healthy, probably the best nap I ever took in my life. I'm not gonna like blame God and say God made me fall asleep. I don't like to pull that card too often, but he probably did. But anyways, I fell asleep and I missed the meeting and I had to deal with it, but something crazy? The event went on perfectly fine, pretty flawless without me in that meeting. It was fine, and it was part of a bigger plan that all these other leaders had, and it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those many experiences I've had in life that just opened my eyes to my life is like maybe important, but probably not as important as I make it out to be sometimes. Can anyone identify with me without like, pushing yourself down in the dirt like a worm? You can just identify. You got an experience, you're like, oh yeah, I'm just one of 8 billion people on this planet. I'm just one part of God's eternal plan. I'm not the whole thing. Anyways, today we come to Genesis 24. And it's the love story of Isaac and Rebekah. It's pretty cool. It's a romance, and they have a love at first sight meeting. It's kind of cool. It's something like you probably want to see a movie about someday. There's a movie making of every story in the Bible. That'd be cool. Maybe you get to watch it in heaven someday. I don't know. It was kind of fun. I remember reading this as a single young guy and really liking the story. It gave me hope. Someday I'll find my soulmate. And I'd read this story and I'd share it with some of you. I'd read the story to your kids in Sunday school. And I think it's cool. But this story is in the middle, pretty much almost the direct middle of the book called Genesis, which we're studying. We're going through chapter by chapter. And Genesis is not so much just trying to give you some random stories to make you feel good about your life and have a nice church service and go home and, I don't know, move on with life. But Genesis is trying to give us like foundational concepts for our life. Genesis is about going back to the beginning and getting the cracks filled in our foundations. Maybe the stuff we kind of skipped over because we were busy with life, or for whatever reasons we missed it. That's what Genesis is for. It helps us go back to find out who we are, who is God, and what's life all about. That's what Genesis is for. And we saw in the beginning of Genesis the whole concept of creation, like God is a creator. He made the universe, people, plants, animals, he made it all. We see that God came up with this concept called the image of God, the Imago Dei, that he made humans to reflect him. That's pretty cool about your life. Even if you don't like how you look or something, God actually does. And he made you, not just your external, but your internal, through a relationship with him, to show the world what he's like. And it gives God a lot of pleasure. And that's kind of the purpose of your life. If you're going on a soul quest to find who you are, maybe you should just read Genesis 1, chapter 1 through 3, and you'll find out it's the image of God. And then later in these chapters, we see this word called covenant. How many of you guys have been seeing that word as we've been teaching through this book? Covenant. It's an important thing, and it's a big concept. Covenant. It sounds kind of like a witchcrafty word. Covenant? I don't know. It's not a word I use a lot in my modern vernacular, but I promise you, it's not supposed to be witchcrafty. It's God. It's God's idea. Covenant, it's the concept of God's commitment, his promise, his faithfulness that governs his relationship with you and with me and with his people. That's what covenant is that God is 100% all in. Even if we bring 50%, or we bring 25%, he's not going to slow down on his end and say, oh, it's 50-50, you got to hold. That's not God. He's a covenant. He's a covenantal God. He makes the promise, he sticks with it. He's the only one who can do that perfect on this planet. And you see marriage talked about in Genesis. We learned about marriage, and marriage is not something that Republicans made up or Democrats made up or people vote on and decide what it is, or university professors teach you what marriage is, or CNN or Fox News teaches you what it is, but actually God made up marriage. And marriage is a covenant in the Bible, a commitment between two people. And Paul later teaches us that it's kind of like the image of God. Marriage is meant to reflect the dynamic between people and God. Marriage is a picture of that. It's like a symbol. It shows us, and we learn through marriage what God's love is like. I mean, you guys, you learned more about love since you got married. I mean, you learned more about love since you had kids. God made it that way. God made those things so you could learn more about what his love is like. So anyways, today we come to the story of Isaac and Rebekah, like I told you, and it is a continued story, though, of God's covenant. This guy named Abraham. You probably remember Abraham. He's a pretty famous character in your Bible. It comes up 300 times between Old Testament and New Testament. Some people call him the father of the faith. God is promising to this guy Abraham, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless you big time. You're going to be wealthy. You're going to have a lot of stuff, all the stuff that people want, the land, the animals, the riches. But I'm going to bless you with more than that. You're going to actually really know me. You're going to know God. And you're going to be able to show the world how to know God. And through Abraham and his descendants, there would be offspring, many kids. There would become nations, including the chosen nation of Israel, through which God would reveal himself to them and through them. And there would be this promised seed. I want you all to hear this, because this goes back to me sleeping through the meeting and learning that I'm not as important as I think. It wasn't just a fun story, just to get you laughing and get your attention. It has a connection here. Abraham was promised the chosen seed, same one that Eve was promised when her and Adam sinned in the garden, and God was going to give her the promised seed that inside of her body, inside of Adam's body, through marriage, through sexual relations, this promised seed would go down through the generations, and now that seed actually can be traced to Abraham. And Abraham wants a daughter for his son Isaac. And this is a bigger deal, my friends, than just Isaac needs a wife because he's lonely. It's a bigger deal than just Isaac needs a wife because that's part of the whole image of God concept. It's a bigger issue than anything we could think of. It's literally God is planning his rescue plan for the entire planet of passing down this chosen seed through the covenant that will eventually be Jesus Christ. So I'm just saying, I don't think they knew that when they were in the middle of this, that how big their life and their love story would be in the future of things working out on planet Earth. Like, let me just be honest. The reason you're in church today, the reason you can have a relationship with God today can be traced back to Isaac and Rebekah getting married one day. Because God chose to use them in his generational, many years plan to rescue us through his son, Jesus Christ. But it all started with a seed, and it started with the covenant. So I don't know, before I jump in the story, I just kind of want to tell you, your life is important too. And I didn't mean to downplay your life as not being important, but I just kind of want to up the importance of your life now by telling you that your life also is part of God's plans for his planet to reveal himself to and through you to people. And I really mean that. Your life's important. The way you think is important. The way you look at God is important. The way you do life and family is important. Because people are looking at you. And people have a need in their heart to know God. They do. So anyways, I don't want to suck all the romance out of this love story. It's fun. So we should jump in and read it together. You guys ready? All right, we're in chapter 24, and we read through a lot of it last week, so I'm going to start today on verse 15. I'll give you a little context just in case you missed it. Abraham wants a wife, not for himself, but for his son Isaac, because his son's getting kind of old. He's like 37, 38, 39, 40. Some of you might be older than that. You want to get married, that's fine. But in the Bible, people get married a lot younger lots of times, and Isaac wants to get married. And Abraham knows he's been promised by God. He's going to be blessed and have offspring and have nations and the seed and all this stuff. So he needs his son to get married, right? I mean, they don't have all these other options we have today to get married. In the old days, you had to have a baby. In the old days, if you want to get married, you gotta have a baby. If you want to have a baby, you gotta get married. So that's what he needs to do, is find a wife. So Abraham makes this strategy. He's like, all right. He looks around. He's like, who do I trust the most? And he says, there's my servant, Eliezer, probably his name. He is in charge of everything in his household. He's like the steward. He says, I want you to go, not to the Canaanites where they worship idols. I want you to go back to where I'm from. It's like a 500-mile journey. Take 10 camels, take a bunch of stuff, and I want you to find a wife for my son Isaac. How many guys think that would have been easier than all the headache you went through dating, trying to find your spouse? I don't know about you. But wouldn't that be easy if you could just snap your fingers and daddy goes and finds you your normies? I don't know, some of you think that's creepy and weird. You don't want anything to do with that. You're like, I want my dad picking nothing for me, that's for sure. But Abraham and Isaac, they have a good connection, they have a good relationship. Maybe this is kind of cultural, but I also think we can learn some things from it. Just saying. So Abraham makes this strategy. He sends his servant, and the servant goes and he says, I want you to find this woman. So, anyways, I don't know how much I should tell you. I feel like I should just read it to you. You guys ready to read? Here we go. Verse 15. We're in chapter 24 of Genesis. You can listen along or read along. Before that's the servant, had finished speaking, by the way, he's speaking to God, that's prayer. Behold, Rebekah. And at this point, you're supposed to go, oh, it's like the lovely woman walks into the scene at this point. She walks up to the well. And it's Rebekah who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Came out with her jar on her shoulder. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin, and no man had relations with her. She went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your jar. I'm going to interrupt real quick just to tell you, this is the test. They made this little strategy where they're like, God, we need you to come through. We're going to faith it. This is not a Hail Mary, but this is a Hail Jesus. And we need this to work out because we need a good wife for Isaac because he's the son of the covenantal promise guy, Abraham. So we're going to go to a well in this particular place, and we're going to ask whoever we see, the first woman, if she'll give us water. And if she says, yeah, I'll give you water, and I'll give water to all your camels, that'll be our sign that she's the one. Simple as that. We don't need Tinder. We don't need eHarmony. We don't need any of this other stuff. We're just going to see who shows up at the well, ask her this question, and if she waters our camels, she's the one. Simple as that, right? Pretty crazy. I don't know. That's not my story, but sometimes things are so important, we have to inject more faith into it than we realize. So that's what they do. And what does she say? Verse 18. She said, drink, my Lord. And she's not worshiping as Lord. She is honoring him as an important person. It's cultural. She quickly lowered her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. Here it goes. Now, when she had finished giving him a drink, he's probably holding his breath right now, waiting to hear what she says next. She says, I'll draw also for your camels until they've finished drinking. Wow. So they want a generous woman, and they get an extra generous woman. She's like, oh, I'm glad you're enjoying this water. I'm going to give all your camels a feast, too. They're going to drink till they are full, and their humps are filled with water, and they're spitting all those weird things camels do. Verse 18, she said, drink, my lord. Nope, we're actually on verse 20. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the well to draw, and she drew for all his camels. So do you guys picture this? This is like a woman that she's like, man, she's intense, she's hardcore. She's getting water for maybe her family, just kind of doing her daily routine. And then this stranger shows up with 10 camels, and she's like, oh yeah, I'd love to water your camels. Here, let them drink till they're completely full. So the guy is, now this is kind of awkward, I don't recommend you do this, men, but the man is staring at her. It says, gazing at her in silence to know whether the Lord had made his journey successful or not. So he probably looks a little creepy, but I don't think he is. He's a really responsible guy. He's just amazed at the faithfulness of God. That God would set him up on this adventure. He's all in, and God comes through. He's just like, this is too good to be true. Like, I trust God and everything, but have you guys ever had a moment, come on, where you're like, I trusted God, but he really showed that he's even more faithful than I thought, and you're just gazing in amazement. I've had these moments. Well, Rebecca, on the other hand, she doesn't know this is a test. She doesn't know they're watching her. She doesn't know the backstory. She's just being her. She's just doing Rebecca. She's just doing life. She's just being herself. She's being generous. She's being kind to strangers. She's just doing her thing, serving her family, serving people who come through town. Man. But on the other side, it is a miracle they're seeing this amazing woman. It makes me wonder, now I'm speculating. I don't know, there's not a chapter in the Bible that tells us about Abraham and Sarah having a conversation about the kind of woman that Isaac needs. But come on, how many parents ever had that talk about the kind of spouse your kid needs someday? Especially when they start getting older and showing their personality, like, oh my goodness. My daughter, she needs a man who is very flexible. Oh my gosh, my son, he needs a woman that is very stable. Oh, you come on, you've said those kind of things before, especially you have older kids. You've prayed those prayers. You're like, oh my gosh, I need someone who has patience up the wazoo for my kids. I know you've prayed those prayers. I'm just saying, I think Isaac and Sarah, they're really convinced of the covenant of God. They're probably thinking, you know what we need? We need a woman who's generous. Because God is going to bless Isaac's socks off. And he's promised to be a blessing to the nations. You know what we don't need is a woman who is stingy, who thinks with her pocketbook more than her heart, who always holds things with a tight fist. We need a woman who's open-handed. But you guys, I'm speculating. They didn't have this conversation that I know of, but I just think maybe they did. I'm totally playing and having fun with the Bible right now. But I'm just saying, this was God. This also could have been wisdom. And I'll say that to you parents. I think it's not a bad idea to pray for the spouse your kids will have someday. It's a really big decision. I'll say that to you if you're single today. I hope you're praying, and you can ask people to pray for you too. If you want to get married, that God helps you find your life partner. Anyways, let's read on. She feeds the camels their water, goes above and beyond. So she asked, okay, verse 22, when the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring, weighing half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrists, weighing 10 shekels in gold. So this guy's brought some bling. He's brought some gifts. And he said, whose daughter are you? Please tell me. Is there room for us to lodge in your father's house? Man, that is a bold request, right? Well, it's kind of cultural. People would sometimes extend hospitality to strangers. It's something that actually makes you look really good in some of these cultures. So she said to him, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. So that's good news. Some of you are like, okay, Josh, I just got to say, this is getting creepy. You mean Abraham sent them to, like, basically relatives to find a spouse? Josh, I know you trust the Bible, and all this is getting creepy. Okay, so let's break this down for a second. The answer is yes. They are finding a spouse from relatives. And you're thinking, okay, does that mean I can do that? No, you cannot do that. And the reason is because at this point, there was no scripture recorded that said, do not marry or have sexual relations with family members. But soon afterward, there was. And through Moses and in Leviticus, there's multiple commandments not to do romance, sex, and that kind of love with family members. It's called incest. And all those sex prohibitions came in later very clearly. Don't have sex with animals, don't have sex with family members. Have one spouse, not multiple spouses, not an open marriage, not homosexual marriage, not this kind of marriage, not an alternative marriage. One man, one woman, committed for life, not till divorce, but till death do us part. Unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, unconditional commitment. Sorry, the politics don't decide that, the Bible does. And we love, and friends, I just always tell you this, we don't judge anyone on how they do love, how they do marriage, how they do sex, how they do politics. It's not our job in the church to judge people, it's to love people and show them the light of Jesus. But when we become God's kid, we really believe His word. We believe it's the best way for us. And He is our Father, and He knows what's best for us in every way. And He wants He wants Isaac to meet Rebekah. It doesn't mean you need to, think the cousin romance thing is good. It's not. It's wrong. It's incest. And even if you've done stuff like that, you can find forgiveness for all of your sexual mishaps. I'm sure in this room collectively, we've all made every mistake possible sexually. Who wants to raise their hand and stand? No, just kidding. I'm not going to do that today. But I'm just saying, this is a no-shame church, and we're not here to shame people, but we're here to find forgiveness at the foot of the cross and move forward in God's ways. Amen? Amen. All right, so anyways, the camels finished drinking. The man took a gold ring. Yeah, I told you this. She is definitely family. And in this situation, that's good news. Because they don't want to find just any old woman. They want to make sure they can relate on the God level. That's important. That's important. I would say that to you today. If you're dating or you're not married yet, maybe no one else in your life has the guts to tell you, but I want you to find someone who loves Jesus as much as you do. I want you to know that. And so does God. And Paul picks this up later in the New Testament and talks about this concept of being equally yoked. It's important. I hope that for you. And some of you are like, I don't believe it can happen for me. I've made too many mistakes. I don't deserve a spouse who loves Jesus. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, all right. So she's going above and beyond. She says where she belongs, where she lives, who's her family. And again, she said to him, "We have plenty of both straw and feed and room to lodge in." Man, so again, she's generous. I just kind of want to talk about generosity to you today. I want to ask you a question. How many of you in this room, you genuinely consider yourself a generous person? Raise your hand loud and proud. I don't want people to be ashamed, like you can't admit that. Some of you are very generous people, I'm sure. You do nice things for people all the time. You don't have to talk yourself into it. You just overflow. That's a good quality. I just want to say it's a great quality. It's because you're made in the image of a generous God that you're like that. And that's Rebekah. She's generous. He asks for something. She goes above and beyond. She says, "Come to my house. We got plenty of room, and we got plenty of food for your camels." She's going above and beyond. I just want to say that to you guys today. Someone in this room needs to hear that because no one else in your life is telling you that generosity, it's okay to go above and beyond. It is so okay. Because, and I try to teach my kids this, and I know I have to be careful on this topic at church because people have, sometimes, think thoughts about, the church wants this, the church wants that. So I won't teach you guys this, but I'll tell you what I teach my kids. I teach my kids that if you give, God is going to bless you. I teach my kids that all the time. I tell them, give your stuff away. Give it all away. We don't need it. And it's kind of weird. Sometimes I feel stupid saying that because I'm not very responsible. But I really teach my kids, when they're feeling generous, go with it. Go with it. Because I don't want to be one of those stingy dads saying, no, don't do that. No, give that away. We might need that toy later. Because, I'm just saying, not only do we live in America, a blessed nation, and you're rich even if you don't think you are, compared to the rest of the world, man, I just think generosity is something we want to bless. Let me tell you a story on that note. One time, first year of marriage, my wife, we were hanging out in our little cute apartment. It was like 325 square feet. It was so big. And we were doing so good. We were paying our bills and saving like 50 cents a month. We were so responsible. And this is like 11 years ago, sorry. And we've been married 11 years. And anyways, one time she's like, Christmas is coming up, and this book that I'm reading, it's really ministering to my heart, helping me grow closer to Jesus. A little devotional. I think it was by Fenelon. She's like, I'm going to buy like 10 of them and give them to my friends. And I was like, took a deep breath. I was like, oh, you want to buy 10 of them? They're about $10 each. I'm like, I just remember thinking, well, why don't we scale it down just a little bit? Maybe 4 would be good to start with. And she's such a good woman. She's like, okay, Josh, I'll go with that. It sounds good. And then I walked outside. It didn't take long to walk outside because his house is like this big. And I walked outside, and I literally heard God whisper to me, is that the spirit you want to sow in your wife? And I'm just dead in my tracks. I was like, okay. So I went back in, and I was like, okay, how many books do you want to buy? Let's buy those books. And we did buy them. I think God he nailed me on that. Do I want to sow into the generosity spirit or the spirit of stingy? The spirit of open heart, open hands, or the spirit of tight-fistedness? So anyways, I just feel like this story is about generosity. I need to tell you that today. I want you to go with it. If God's leading you to live a generous life, go with it. Don't be stupid and irresponsible. You can use wisdom too. It's both, right? It's wisdom and it's freely give. But man, I just think God's into this. So the man bowed low and worshipped the Lord. Verse 26. He said, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving kindness and his truth toward my master. As for me, the Lord has guided me in the way to the house of my master's brothers. So what's happening here is the servant is just worshiping God. He's not taking credit for this miracle. He's like, this is God. God's hand is on my life. God's hand is on this situation. God, you are so reliable. You guys want to read some more? Yeah. 28. And then the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. I want you guys to just picture this spunky woman, Rebecca. I know you all think she was like totally boring Bible woman. I think she's spunky and fun. She just looks fun to me. Like if I needed to have more, cool friends that in my single days, this would be a kind of woman you'd want to be friends with. This girl sounds like a cool woman. She's fun, she's spunky, she's running. She's not too dignified to run. Now Rebecca had a brother whose name was Laban. Now, if you have like a red pen or a pen you don't like, you can underline his name because he's not going to be the funnest character or the funnest brother in your Bible. You'll learn more about him later. Anyways, Laban ran outside to the man at the spring. And when that's Laban, saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of Rebekah, his sister, saying, this is what the man said to me. Then Laban went to the man, and behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. And he said, come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I've prepared the house and a place for the camels? So the man entered the house, and then Laban unloaded the camels, and he gave straw and feed the camels and water to wash his feet, and the feet of the men who were with him. Now, you guys, maybe you read that, and you think at first glance, Laban's a good guy too. He's generous. But you know what I see? Verse 30, when he saw the ring, when he saw the bracelets, when his eyeballs saw wealth, when his eyeballs saw there was money in this family, when his eyeballs saw, ooh, there's an opportunity. How many of you guys know family life is great until money gets involved? Until there's a death, until there's a will to be read, until there's an inheritance. Then everyone in your family suddenly has their own lawyer. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Hopefully don't raise your hand because you don't want to expose them right now. But I'm just saying, sometimes money makes things messy. But I wonder if that's not actually true at all. I wonder if money is just an amplifier. I wonder if money just amplifies what already is going on in our hearts. But I'll tell you what, Rebecca, she doesn't seem to be responding the same way Laban is. So anyways, Laban sees money, he sees gold, he sees jewelry, and he's excited. He welcomes him in, and he's playing the big brother card now. He is on his game. And I don't know him. I don't know the entirety of his heart. I'm just saying we see him later chapters doing shady stuff. So I just feel like this is foreshadowing what's going on in his heart. And I'll just say that to you today. Money is not evil. Money is not bad. Money's an amplifier. Some of you've like sworn to poverty and oath of poverty. I'm a Christian, therefore I'll always be poor. And I would just tell you, you don't need to do that. Money is not evil. Money's not good. Money is neutral. And it's our hearts. It's the character of our hearts. And you could be poor and wicked. You could be poor and righteous. You could be rich and wicked. You could be rich and righteous. It's not about the money. It's about what's in our hearts. But money is an amplifier. It will ramp up whatever's already going on in our hearts. How many of you guys think that's probably true? Yeah, I think so too. So, okay, now this is kind of interesting. They're in the house, and now it's like, wow, now what's going to happen? What's going to happen now? They found this woman. Come on, we're on the home stretch, right? We're like at the 10-yard line. Like, let's get this woman, let's take her home before it's too late. Let's make this happen, right? So, verse 33. When food was set before him to eat, he said, I will not eat until I've told my business. And so he said, speak on. So here's what's happening is he's in the house, and they probably want to wine and dine him. Like, especially Laban wants to make an opportunity out of this wealthy family, right? But this servant's like, no, don't try to win me over with your gifts. Don't give me food. Don't give me drink. Don't try to get me drunk. I need to tell you my business. I'm here on a mission. I ain't here just to talk about the weather and football and eat some food. I'm here on a mission. So he tells the story. He goes, I'm going to read it to you fast on hyper speed. You ready? He goes, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master. He's become rich. He's given him flocks, herds, silver, gold, servants, maids, camels, and donkeys. Now Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master in her old age, and he's given him all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites. Nuh-uh, not in whose land I live, don't do that. But you shall go to my father's house, to my relatives, and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, suppose the woman does not follow me. He said to me, the Lord before whom I've walked will send his angel with you to make your journey successful, and you'll take a wife for my son from my relatives, and from my father's house. Then you'll be free from my oath. When you come to my relatives, if they do not give her to you, you'll be free from my oath. Man, so he is just spilling his cards. He is spilling his pearls. He's telling them, he turned over his hand. I don't know poker very well. He turned over his hand, showed him his cards. He keeps going. I came today to the spring and said, Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you'll make my journey on which I go successful. Behold, I'm standing by the spring. May be that the maiden comes out and draw to whom I say, let me drink a little water from your jar. If she'll say, you drink, I'll drink. I'll draw for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord's appointed for my master's son. And he is telling the whole story. He goes, before I finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with a jar on her shoulder. And she went down the spring and drew water, and I said, please let me drink. And she quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink. I'll water your camels also. So I drank. She watered the camels also. Then I asked her, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, and Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring on her nose, the bracelets on her wrist, and I bowed low and worshipped the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who guided me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. And he just told the whole story. You guys, I'm the janitor salesman in me hates this right now because he's like winging it. He doesn't have a good sales pitch. He's not like persuasive. He's not like, trying to make a good transaction. He's just spilling his cards out, spilling his pearls and being vulnerable. I don't know. I think someone in here needs to hear this today, that sometimes being vulnerable is more persuasive than you think. I don't know. I think someone needs to hear that. Some of you play a lot of weird communication games and people don't like it. It doesn't get you very far. Some of you hear this today. Maybe it's better if you just be transparent, like this servant. I don't know. Maybe it's better if you just lay your cards out with your spouse, or your kids, or your friends, or people at work. Maybe it's a better way. Maybe it's more persuasive than you think. To just be vulnerable. Tell the truth. Be transparent. Talk about those things called, what are they? Feelings. Yeah. So he gets right to the meat. Now he says, now if you're going to deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. And if not, let me know that I may turn to the right hand or the left. So he gives them a call to action. He's like, make a choice. Send Rebekah with me or send me on my way. Because it's one or the other. So Laban, he is a schemer. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but he is. You'll see that later. And Bethuel replied, the matter comes from the Lord, so we cannot speak to you bad or good. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go. Let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. So, it looks like things are going well, right? Yeah. How many of you guys have ever gone to bed on a good note, and then you wake up in the morning, and everything's bad again? Like, oh, the kids are sick, the bills are coming in, you got phone calls going off, you got some bad emails, the neighbor's angry, this is angry, your boss is angry, yeah. So anyways, everything's good. They go to bed. Abraham says he heard their words, bowed himself to the ground, and worships the Lord. He keeps doing that. Keeps worshiping. But you know what else happened? Oh, we got to read one more verse. The servant brought out articles of silver, articles of gold, garments, gave them to Rebekah, also gave precious things to her brother and her mother. So I'm just saying, sometimes generosity, man, it's just what happened here. It's like it's going to backfire. So they go to bed. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. 54. He and the men who were with him ate, drank, spent the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, send me away to my master. But her brother and her mother said, let the girl stay with us a few days. say 10. Afterwards, you may go, So what's happening here? You guys ever had buyer's remorse? Ever bought something and it felt really good in the moment, and you're like, what did I just do? And it just hits you like a train, like, I bought something. Well, these guys just had seller's remorse. They gave away Rebecca, their family member, like, sure, it seems like this is the will of God. And then they go to bed thinking about all that wealth, and they say, we could have got more money out of this. We could have got more money out of this. That's what I think happens here. I think we could have made this work better for our needs. We could have played this to our advantage. But he says, do not delay me. The Lord's prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. So he pushes back. He's serious. And I made a note here. Maybe this is a little off topic. But I just want to tell you, someone in this room, in the single game you're dating, I just want to tell you, I want you to be more like this guy and be more direct. Some of you, you're single in this room, you're not married yet. I just want to tell you, I think the world's dating games are frankly very unnecessary. I don't think they work to your advantage. And I just feel like they're playing games. And some of you are parents here and your kids are dating already or now dating. I think some good advice we can tell them is, be fairly direct. I'm not saying be desperate. I know there's the whole hard to get things, but sometimes the world takes the dating games way out of hand. I just think, friends, if you're a good Christian man or a good Christian woman and you want to get married to a good Christian man or a good Christian woman, I encourage you to be bold and be direct. Not overwhelming on your first date. Hey, are we getting married or not? It's been 10 minutes. I'm not saying that. But I am saying be direct and be vulnerable and be direct. I just think a lot of these games in our culture, I don't think they serve to our advantage as much as we think. I like that the servant here is direct and wants to get on with this strategy, this mission, this adventure, this romance. So they said, we'll call the girl and consult her wishes. So they called Rebecca and said, will you go with this man? She said, I will go. There's Rebecca, full of faith, just taking charge. I will go. She's honoring her family, but she's not going to play her brother's games. So they sent her away, their sister Rebecca, and her nurse, Abraham's servant, as men. And then it looks like the family does like a blessing over Rebecca. And they say, may you, our sister, become thousands of 10,000s. May your descendants possess the gate of those who hate them. Interesting prophecy or blessing, because I'm not really sure how much her family knows God. It seems like they honor and respect God, but I would say from this prayer, it doesn't really show a very clear understanding of God. Yes, they're kind of right. God is going to bless Rebecca, but not just so she can have power and dominance over enemies. It's going to be greater than that. God's bigger purpose is going to be to bless her so that God can open up salvation through her line of descendants, through the chosen nation that will come from her womb. Much bigger than they realize. It's bigger than being a blessed, rich woman. Interesting. So Rebekah arose with her maids, mounted the camels, followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and departed. This is a lot of miles. They're going a long journey. Multiple days. Verse 62. You guys ready? Here comes the romance. I know it seems short, but sometimes that's how it is when you walk with God. Sometimes God does things faster than you think. And some of you are like, I don't know, it's too late for me. I'm never going to get married. There's no love in my future. I don't know. I wouldn't count God out. Sometimes He can work things better if you just faith it, like Abraham and Isaac did. I'm not saying you don't have a strategy, but here I go. Verse 62, Isaac had come from going to Beer the Highroy, for he was living in the Negev. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, camels were coming. So what's Isaac doing? Well, the scripture writer wants us to know Isaac, he's praying. This is not any type of other spiritual meditation practice that you might be familiar with from any other spirituality or culture. Christian meditation is different than any other kind of meditation. Let me explain it to you. Other meditations from other spiritualities focus on emptying yourself. And friends, I just want to tell you, there's no such thing as empty. The Bible tells you that you are open territory for spirits, and you're made body, soul, and spirit. You have a body, you have a mind, and you have a spirit. So there's no such thing as being truly empty. And every spirit is meant to, they want to occupy. So every other spirituality that teaches to empty yourself, friends, that is a deceptive philosophy, and it's making you open game for spirits that are deceptive and that are evil and that are destructive. Christian meditation is different because it's focused on filling yourself. And God wants to fill you when you open yourself up to God through Jesus Christ. And then as a Christian ongoing, we meditate not by emptying ourselves, but by filling ourselves with God's Word, with God's love, with God's Spirit, through prayer, worship, and Bible reading. That's what meditation is, and that's what Isaac is doing. He's not like messing around with idols and demons. He is worshiping the God of the Bible, the same God that we are celebrating and worshiping today. So that's what he's doing. And she says, this is cool, she lifts her eyes, she saw Isaac, and she dismounted from her camel, and she says to his servant, "Who's that man walking in the field?" Oh, did you hear my voice? I made that sound a little extra. Who's that man? I don't know if it sounded like that. Who is that? I don't know if it was like that. Hopefully it was. And the servant said, "He's my master." And she took her veil and covered herself. And that's cultural. And you should know there is about to be a wedding. There's about to be a wedding. It's going to be a love at first sight and a wedding. The servant told Isaac all the things he had done. So friends, this is kind of nice for Isaac. He gets to skip all the dating games. He doesn't owe any money to the dating apps. Nothing against dating apps, but he doesn't have to play these games. He just gets to research this matter with the servant and gets the whole story. And in verse 67, Isaac brought her, Rebekah, into his mother Sarah's tent. So Sarah's dead, by the way. So, and he took Rebekah. She became his wife. And how exciting is this? Isaac gets his wife. The promised son gets his wife, and he loved her. It reminds me of that saying that people say with arranged marriages, that some people choose who they love, other people focus on loving who they choose. It's kind of fun. God definitely set this one up. It says, "Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death." So I want to conclude today. You guys did great. Followed a big, long story. And I want to kind of wrap this up and make this practical for you. Some of you in this room, you are single, and this story hopefully is encouraging for you because it reminds us that God wants to be a part of our story of singleness and dating and finding a spouse. And so many of you in this room who are blessed, who are married, and we want to forever be thankful that God brought a spouse in our life. We want to learn to be thankful for the person we're married to and love them, like Isaac chose to love Rebekah. I want to kind of encourage you and challenge you. If you're single in this room, I want to challenge you to have a strategy. I just don't know if anyone in your life is telling you that, so I'll do it. I love you. I want you to get a strategy for how you're going to move forward in the next chapter of your life. If you want to be married, and you believe God wants you to be married, I want to know your strategy. And I really want to know, and I kind of want to know if you have one. I want you to pray about it. I want you to really think about it. I don't want you just to wing it and think of better pickup lines or something like that. Play the dating games the culture says. I don't want you to do that. I want you to pray and give a strategy. What is God leading you to do? How are you going to move forward in that? I really mean that. Some of you men, if you want to get married, I want you to move forward and find a good Christian wife, have kids, and raise a good godly family, be part of a church that helps people in this community find who they truly are in Jesus Christ. I don't want you to be single forever playing dumb games. The same thing with women. I don't want you to play, I love you. I don't want you to be dumb and play the games that other women are playing just because of cultures. I want you to have a strategy. What kind of man are you going to marry? What kind of men are you going to say no to? What kind of man are you going to say yes to? Oh, maybe no one else is telling you this, but I want to tell you this. Get a strategy. Get a strategy. And then as a church family, we support people in this phase of singleness. I just want to tell you again, the purpose of your life is not to get married. And no one on this planet is going to complete you. Only Jesus does that. There is no soulmate that will make you complete. Sorry, Jerry McGuire. No one makes you complete. Only Jesus can make you whole and complete. I want to tell you that. You don't need to get married to be whole and complete. If you're married, I'd say the same thing. Don't put unnecessary expectations on your spouse. Because your spouse can't make you satisfied, whole, and complete the way you were meant to. Only Jesus can. And a marriage will thrive when those expectations are at the right spot. Hey, why don't you stand with me, church? Man, I love the Bible because it talks about real life. It's not just silly, dumb stuff that doesn't relate to our life. God speaks to us right where we're at because He's real and He loves us and He wants to be involved in every detail of our life. And that's why I love the Bible. It doesn't sugarcoat over the messes and the confusion and the distraction and the difficulties. I just want to tell you that today. Someone needs to surrender to Jesus today. And I don't want you to just go home with some good advice about how to do your faith better or how to do religion better. I don't want you to go home with that. I want you to understand God is calling you by name. And God wants you. Put everything else aside. Put church aside. Put people aside. Put any pressure aside. Are you going to respond to Jesus? Are you going to respond to Jesus? And what is your response to Jesus? What is your response to Jesus? I'm thankful that Rebecca, she went with it. She went with it. Little did she know that her life would become this integral, important part in the sequence of the seed and the covenant being passed down to where one day Jesus would come and Jesus would die on a cross and Jesus would reach out his hands to us with nails through them and nails through his feet and his blood would be spared. What's your response to Jesus? Friends, I want to ask you to close your eyes. I'd like to give an invitation. You just never know if you have another day, and I don't know if I'll have another day to tell you this, but I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to Jesus today. The Bible says that if we trust in him, that we will be saved. That if we put our trust, faith, and belief in Jesus entirely and exclusively, we'll be saved. Doesn't mean we don't have questions. Doesn't mean we won't make mistakes. It means we're ready to surrender. Friends, if you want to surrender to Jesus, I want to lead you in a prayer of surrender today. There's no magic prayer, but it is a choice that happens in your heart. And only God can see your heart. No one else can. You want to surrender your heart to Jesus. I want to ask you if you'll do that right now. It's a simple prayer. It goes like this. You can pray out loud with me. Say, Dear Jesus, I'm done running from you, and I'm ready to run to you. I'm done holding you at arm's distance. I'm done with my hang-ups that have created this feeling of distance, and I'm ready to be your child. I'm ready to be loved by you and to love you entirely and exclusively. I'm ready to come into your covenant. I'm ready to come into your family. I'm ready to be a Christian. And I receive your forgiveness that came at the cross. And I receive your spirit right now into my life. And I give you my heart, and I give you my life. And I will follow you from this day forward. In Jesus' name, amen.